What did you enjoy most about climbing frames when you were a kid? And what do you enjoy most about them now that you're an adult? Yeah, well in this episode you get to watch me fail on a climbing frame. Let's get welding. I'm going to need more than that.
Once you saw the future, now you're looking back. How you gave up everything you...
Fragile. Got to laugh at marking up 6mm plate steel as fragile. Imagine what the conversation in the DHL van was like in that day.
I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me.
Diving into you black hole. I can see myself now from the other side.
Alright, let's not bury the lead anymore. As you probably guessed, we're going to be looking at doing the roll cage today. Now, this isn't going to be a small task by any margin. And in case you were wondering, that's why I've not fully riveted on the side panels, because the roll cage is going to have to intrude in that. But today, we're going to look to put the big hoop over the top, i.e. the bit that everyone sees. What we're probably then going to have to do is think about where the bloody hell every other bit of it goes. Well, the first stage is obviously the steel. 6mm thick I'm going to go for making these bases. As you can tell, it's thick, really bloody thick. Might need a wee bit of a tidy, but that is the plate ready to go. The tube, however, is this stuff. Now, I'll put the spec in the comments below, but this is proper roll cage steel. Comes in 5m lengths, as you can see. It is so bloody awkward, I don't know where the hell to put it, so we're going to get into this really quickly because it's really in my way. But this is graded the proper motorsport stuff, so if I ever actually have to go through some form of scrutineering for some reason, it is going to pass. But it's not just about that. This is a safety device and I really want it to work, which is why I didn't really get into this very early. All of this has been a learning process. This steel, now that I'm fairly competent with welding and I'm happy with what I'm doing, will keep me safe. So a bit of practice has been done before we get into the real safety stuff with my welding talents. Now, this isn't just like an exhaust where you put it in a bender and away you go. It has to be what's called mandrel bent, that is, formed to a curve without crimping it. If you just bend metal, you will actually have an internal crease line. It is metal, it is pretty tough stuff. If you're folding it, it's going to fold. If it creases, it's not going to be very strong. Especially if you consider that that corner area is 9 times out of 10 when the impact happens, it has to be the strongest bit of the roll cage. So it's got to be bent correct. I don't have the kit for that, so we are going to bring in one of the other Patreons to give us a hand. A very tall man has arrived, and he's brought with him a massive bender. Over there, but we'll get to that in a moment. So what we're now going to do is pass over to somebody who knows what they're doing and work out how to at least do the hoop section of this. Well, at least he's going to show me how to do the hoop section, and then I may then progress and make a further fuck up.
Pass on knowledge.
Pass on knowledge, that's it. So what's first? I see you brought paper.
I have. We're going to be doing a one-to-one sketch of the hoop that we're doing, so we can basically trace out size, check it with the bar, and then we'll have it size for size so we can check it per bend and
That's impressive.
not waste any tube.
Yes, I know that's not my Kirkies. I'll explain later. I am going to do the sketchy sketch thing and climb in this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So there's your seat.
This is my seat. That's the worst case. I'd like to think I'm going to be much more tucked into this car than I am now, but it's a good representation.
Well, that's about as high as we're going to take it.
So if the bottom of the bar's there, I reckon that's good.
675.
675.
Yeah.
No. Well, I would think for the purposes of, you know, safety and good compliance with IVA, we'll go smack bang in the middle. 1018 is the total width of the car. But yeah, we'll just measure it, I think. 40 inches on the nose.
Okay, I was going to speak English.
Are you looking for a big flat surface?
Yeah.
You're probably going to struggle.
I'm thinking that, actually.
Oh, there we go. I really hope that doesn't have to be clean. Are we measuring twice and cutting once?
Aye, Mr. Plan, 15 pound metre.
Oh, there's actual Pythagoras going on here.
No.
I thought we would just like guess a length and then bend it, but no.
We're going for half a circumference, since we're given two 90-degree bends, which is 180.
Okay.
So this is then what we're going to work out. Or 1100 millimeters divided by 2, which is 550 mil of bend.
I'm so glad it's not me doing the math today. It means it's got half a chance of being right.
Where's my tube?
Your tube?
My tube.
Oh, your tube. So that's the tightest radius we're going to get.
Yes, we are stuck on, because I bought this in America, a 7-inch centerline radius. Okay. So the centerline of this, if you were to project to the middle, is 7 inches.
Okay.
All the way around. And then what we need to do is work out how far from your centre point to this notch here, because that is the start of your first bend.
Alright, that's pretty cool.
Then you go your 275 mil or whatever it is to there, plus.
And just to clarify, because this is a bit rusty, the man's template does actually have a notch in it. So, you know, that has some significant time saving involved when you're plotting this out.
Oh, I've done this before once.
On 1/6.
Twice actually, twice. This is like.
That wasn't on the paper. Oh, it wasn't the paper.
Right angle.
Yes. Do I have a right angle? Bitch, please.
We got a right angle somewhere.
Should I give him the small one or the big one? Would you like a small one? A bit bigger than that. Oh, see if we're looking for intermediates, this could be a problem. There you go.
I'll do. Perfect. Thank you.
I feel like I should talk over this because folk will think I've time-lapsed this with the pace that you're doing it at. No, he's just really ripping through this.
Oh, just, yeah. So, you are that twice.
Right. So let's just add all that up. So 430 plus 275 plus 210 times 2
Yes.
gives you a total of
1830 mil.
1830. Right. Let's real world test that.
Yeah.
So 1830.
Yeah. Say call it 1900. That'll give you some wiggle room.
Go up to 675. Oh yeah. So we are 210, 220, 250.
Because you're going to start bending about there.
Okay. Yeah, that's about 18. Yeah, it does 1830. Yeah. Which is.
So there's, hang on, there's 6, 7.
That's about 2 meters. So if we were to take the radius out for that, yeah, the math's about right. Cool. That proved nothing, but never mind. Oh, unsheath my shaft. Would you like a stabby device?
I'll use my teeth if you want. It's hard times put tomorrow.
So we are now getting magnetic angle finders out, so that just when you thought it couldn't get any more engineery, here we go.
You asked an engineer round and guess what happens?
I did. I love the implication that I've had to ask an engineer round after all of this.
Didn't really ask. You tart. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be taking a drawing, or a scribble, transcribing it onto the tube.
Right.
From basically going
From the centre line out.
From the centre line out.
Right, okay.
Because this machine starts, basically, you feed that in.
Right.
And that will pull the tube around this die.
Okay.
And draw it out, basically, so that there's no kinks, there's no crushing, because a lot of these pipe benders, it ends up folding it, but that maintains the diameter
Yeah, that's pretty tricky actually.
through the bend, and it pulls it round.
but it's got to be pulled. So that's the whole basis of how it does it. Right, okay, fuck it. Well, I'm sure it'll make sense when we actually do it. Let's just time lapse the first one and then explain the second one. Survey says, ooh. Should we do a 0 here to 0 there? See if we need to trim anything off.
Yeah, we probably should, shouldn't we?
Aye, let's do that. And if anyone's worried about that being like particularly high looking, this is just the beginning. Don't fear not, it'll look right. It's good enough.
Alright. I'll do.
Make the noise. No, that's not done. Right, let's not be under any illusions here. This is strong. That is high tensile bolts, big 14mm threads that we'd originally put in way back when we built the chassis. That is, as they say, going nowhere. However, it's probably not up to a standard that I'd be happy with. Now, as you'll know, it is quite high, and there was a logic to that. A, I want to sit in it, but B, I also want to tie in a few other things to this roll cage. And it's not a roll cage by any stretch. This is a roll hoop. I'd be fair in thinking this is the minimum standard the IV would look for. Something that if the car was to, I don't know, sideways roll over, it would stop you from being crushed and maimed. However, if we're going to go on track and do really silly things in this, and we're going to do that, we might be looking for some form of triangulation to go with this. So, the most obvious one would be 2 bars that go from here down to the back. And that's where it's going to get a little bit tricky for me, because this is weaker than American beer. So that's probably not going to be the most obvious place for us to tie it into, despite the fact that it would make sense. So really we want to be going lower, down to the bottom section of the car. Now that does mean the angle of attack is going to be a bit on the shallow side, but bear in mind that I actually still have a lot of room at the back here before we actually have the tub. The only problem is I don't have any metal at this back bit before we get to the tub. Not really planned this one out, have I? But truth be told, I kind of have. Remember how we made these wee guys? They bolt onto the very back of the chassis and they extend out, I don't know, about 12 inches. Yes guys, that's 12 inches. But this actually can be used as a wee template, so we know exactly how far we can go back. Plus, if you look at the extra space we have here, we could stand to go back a little bit further. The question is, how do we add strength if we do that? Because we've got to think about our triangles. So my little bracket comes off here, but we've got a really good chassis member in this guy that comes down and meets here. So if I was to put, say, a plate around about this region that'll tie in and catch a bar that goes all the way to the top, that would be a good thing. But the problem will be, if we were to roll, there's not a lot to stop this plate bending down, flopping out the way and doing absolutely no good whatsoever. So we'd need to triangulate it. But to what? Well, simple logic dictates if we have a plate here that comes out more or less at an angle to allow that to tie in at a straight edge, and then ties in maybe with a bar going up like that onto this guy, that might work. I mean, it's better than nothing. So I think what we'll maybe do is get creative. So I know the size of my roll cage, i.e. the width of the tube. So I know what I need to then tie that tube in, because see here, this is sort of the minimum width I want to get away with. So it'll need to be a plate as wide as that, and at the bottom. Do we need 4 bolts though? I don't even think my IVA is going to give me the guidance to that. We might be better looking at the motorsport regulations to see what the minimum would need to be. But let's go on the basis of 4 for a starter, and then kick off from there. Ooh, it's all creative again, isn't it? The good thing is though, we don't actually need to bust the mandrel bender out for this, because it will just be straight bar down, and then we'll look to tie in and add any gusseting we might think about later on. Presuming you can understand why I flipped this upside down, but in case you can't, we need to make the bottom plinths for this roll bar support to tie into, and it's just going to be a nightmare. It's going to be far easier for me to do a backwards assembly, i.e. we'll fillet the bottom of that, have it sitting ready, and then work our way up, get a base plate ready for the top of this guy, and then we can weld everything else onto here upside down. That'll be flip around, it's alright. However, I'm kind of in two minds about this, because as you can see, if I take this and stick it there, that would be the traditional sort of roll cage angle of attack for the back. But really we're going to want it a bit further in. I mean, we could theoretically take it all the way back to here, that's the clearance we've got, but it's not tying in at anything. I mean, look at it. So unless I come up with some more structure back here, which is just adding weight unnecessarily, I'm going to want the roll cage to tie into as close as possible to this. Just means that from the outside it's going to look quite narrow on that support in the back, but it's going to be strong. So do I want the car to look good? No, I want it to be safe. Safe first, then we can think about making it look good. Anyway, there's always the chance for a big gay wing to hang off the back, so that'll balance everything out. But that's what I'm going to do. So in the first instance, I think what we'll do is we'll get some plates made up that this is all going to tie into, and then the tying into part needs to happen, because a plate, even if we just make it out of 6mm steel, still going to do that. Plate here, coming out, tie the roll cage in, and then we'll get a bar that will plate right up and tie into around about here. That's a nice big tight bit, isn't it? Yeah. Just finger, pokey, smell and nod. You agree? So that'll be the plan, but obviously we do have a lot of filleting and things to do, and I've said filleting a couple of times. Up until now, we've not actually had to do any fish mouth tube to tube welding, and it's something I want to cover in a bit more depth, and to be quite honest, I'm sort of running out of energy at the moment. So in the next episode we'll cover how to join tube steel to tube steel properly, and then we'll tie in the back, and at least that's the rear roll cage done. There is, while this car is in the air, a few other things I want to touch on. There's going to be more cage comes down here and ties into the front, so we'll need to make plates in there, and I need to come up with some ingenious way of making that tie in and look correct. Also, while we're here, as there are people who continually bang on as if I don't know what I'm doing, yes, I know I've got this spar to do here, and it's going to happen while it's upside down because it's easier to weld into this bit upside down. Plus, now that I've got the side panels on, I know what my clearances are, we can finish that. So that'll happen as well, and I haven't forgot, all the handbrake buggery, we'll finish the welds there. And this, that wasn't really fancy in line on my back, we'll get all of that tied into the transmission tunnel as well. So that's what we've got to come. Stay tuned if you just found this. What have you been doing? Like, subscribe, bell, there's plenty more to come, there's plenty more to catch up on. Episode 1 would be the good place to start. If you like the fact there's been no ads here, you're welcome. That's covered by patreon.com/rollsandtrack, so jump over there because bugger YouTube monetization, it's a horror story. And until next weekend, guys, drive safe. Because this is... Oh, that was interesting.